Hello everyone, good evening and a warm welcome to Business Live. Coming up in this edition, ratings agency Standard & Poor's downgrades Ghana's long-term local currency bonds to default status. We'll hear from an economist. Afienya Road Overbridge project, which is part of the Teman-Pankadan railway line. We'll hear how this project will facilitate movement of goods.
Successfully completed and operationalized will link the Tema port to the lake transport network, especially the north-south movement over a distance of some 400 kilometers.
And those were your commodities. Grateful you could stay on. I am Pious Kojo Backah, and look now at our stories. Ratings agency Standard & Poor's has downgraded Ghana's long-term local currency bonds to selective default and cut the country's foreign currency debt to CC from CCC plus with a virtual certainty. S&P said Ghana's proposed local debt restructuring is a distressed debt exchange program, making the bonds liable for selective default rating. It added that Ghana's foreign currency bonds downgrade is in response to government's recently announced plans to restructure domestic debt. Let's get a better appreciation of this. And joining us is senior finance lecturer at the Cape Coast University, Seriam Kawo, for more. Grateful, Kawo, you could join us. Now, what do you make of this latest downgrade after Moody's downgraded us last week?
Very much. Good evening. This latest downgrade is not surprising because when you monitor the rating agencies, they've always been talking about default, and then the debt restructuring. Once the IMF have concluded the debt sustainability analysis, this comes as no surprise. And government announcing that there's going to be a domestic debt exchange on selectivity that they are applying in the debt exchange shows that there is already a default, and therefore the rating agencies have no option than to downgrade us.
Do you think that the planned debt restructure could influence other ratings? Are we likely to see that?
Come again on that.
I am asking whether you think that this planned debt restructure currently ongoing could influence other ratings.
That is surely going to happen because we are just looking at the domestic debt without looking at the foreign debt or the external debt that will come along the line. And so currently, as we are looking at the restructuring of the domestic debt, the foreign debt also have a huge component of the total debt of the country. And therefore, we would get other rating agencies downgrading Ghana.
Of what impact or to what extent do you think this development would have on the current ongoing restructure, that domestic restructure plan as we have it?
Okay, so as we are negotiating for the IMF deal, it's just going to make the deal very tough. IMF is going to be very stringent on ensuring that Ghana meets the conditionalities before the debt is given to us or the relief is given to us. And so going forward, it's going to be very tough for the Ghanaian team when they meet the IMF team in the negotiation process.
What would you say that in the next short to medium term should be the way out for government? What measures should government be looking at to, curtail some of these ratings?
Yeah, so in the short to medium term, the way and manner in which government announces its policy without a recourse to a broader stakeholder consultation is problematic. And then we will need government to have consultation with the various stakeholders, especially the domestic debt holders, to ensure that they explain the issues to them so that these people voluntarily accept the debt exchange as it has been proposed. If government takes the position that we are the one.
Right, so it seems Mr. Seram Kawo's line has frozen, and as and when he comes on, we shall bring him on to speak to the issues for us. But let's move away from that and touch on this story. And President Akufo-Addo has commissioned the Efienya Road Overbridge project, which is part of the Tema-Pankadan railway line. At commissioning ceremony on Tuesday, the president said the project would facilitate movement of goods.
The road over the bridge project is part of the ongoing construction work on the Tema to Mpakadan railway line, which is more than 90% completed. The section of the road is expected to help decongest traffic on the route. In a speech to commission the project, President Akufo-Addo expressed confidence that carting of goods will be easier.
When successfully completed and operationalized, will link the Tema port to the lake transport network, especially the north-south movement over a distance of some 400 kilometers, and open up the lake to the transportation of not only fuel and cement, but also containerized cargo and agricultural produce from the northern enclave in Afram Plains to the port of Tema and other destinations. Other economic benefits of the project include: 1, reduction of pressure on the road network, including the Eastern Corridor roads, which are under vigorous construction, thereby reducing their early deterioration and increasing their service lifespan.
Minister for Railways Development, John Peter Mewu, also hinted that the construction of a rail bridge over the Volta Lake, which connects the eastern region to the Volta region, will boost local economic growth and position the country as having one of the best infrastructure projects in the West African sub-region.
Mr. President, you therefore decided that the project must cross the River Volta. And as a witness to what you said, this railway project crossing the River Volta is one of the first of its kind in West Africa. I want to say a very big thank for your innovation. This project is a clear witness of where the money government continues to borrow goes to. Government on its own generates its internal resources. But as a result of the infrastructure deficits, it is necessary for government to look beyond. And that is why government continue to borrow. Most of the borrowing being undertaken by this government are borrowings that goes into development as we are witnessing.
President Akufo-Addo and the team also inspected work on the bridge over the Volta Lake at Senchi in the eastern region.
All right, so we'll go back to our earlier story where Seram Kawo is back on the line to complete his submission. Seram, if you can hear me, you were earlier making some points on measures government would have to take to ensure that we curtail some of these ratings. Complete your statement for me.
Okay, thank you. I was saying that the approach and manner in which government implements the policy measures without consultation with the broader stakeholder is problematic. And so government should ensure that the same manner they approach the external debts, where they have established ratings that are meeting the external debt holders, they should do the same thing in the domestic market. If the domestic market is closed again to government, where there are fears that government can decide to do anything without recourse to those who borrow to the government, that will not be so good for us. As a way forward, we need to see commitment from government. The government size should be reduced. Ministers that are not performing should be reshuffled. Once that is done, we are going to save some amount of money when we are going forward. Government has put in its budget statement that non-essential projects are not going to be undertaken. The question I want to ask is the cathedral construction essential to the development of our country? Why can't we use that money to do something else? Government should prioritize the needs of the Ghanaians, and then we would move forward as a country.
We really appreciate your time, Seriam Kawo. He is a senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, sharing his perspective with us on the latest downgrade by SNP. Moving on, operations of the Ghana Link end-to-end single window system for transacting business at the port have saved importers huge costs of clearing goods at the ports. Now, this is an assertion by the Director of Operations for Ghana Link, Raymond Amalglo. According to him, the systems deployed at the port have helped importers identify their cost and make the payments ahead of time to avoid exchange rate losses, which might occur as a result of the depreciating local currency. Raymond Amalglo was speaking to Joy Business after signing an MOU with Customs Unipass International Agency of Korea to advance its systems and operations across Ghana and the Gambia. The new agreement between KUPIA of Korea and Ghana Link will ensure the transfer of advanced technology and more resources into the operations of ICOMS in Ghana and other parts of Africa. Ghana has been touted as having one of the best port operations due to the seamless processes of clearing goods at the port. After signing the agreement, Director of Operations for Ghana Link, Raymond Amalglo, highlighted the importance of the new system, which has saved many importers high costs of damage.
Basically, what this has helped to do is to ensure that we are able to clear cargo within hours or within a day once the vessel has discharged at the port. So one, there is very speedy clearance of goods. Then there is a lot of cost savings. You know, the challenge with the exchange rate, what it means is that if you are able to make payments today, your vessel could arrive in 2 months' time, and you are able to make cost savings when it comes to the exchange rate at the time of the arrival of the cargo in the country. There is also a lot of transparency, because all the stakeholders, even those who have their own systems, have all been connected to ICOMS. So what it means is that you don't need paper any longer. Whichever agency or stakeholder requires one confirmation, one indication, or one authorization to enable you to proceed, you are able to receive all these notifications on the system.
Chairman of Ghana Link, Nick Danso, expressed confidence that the agreement will enhance revenue mobilization at the various ports. Both parties have agreed to work towards the modernization of the country's custom operation. This is still Business Live with me, Pious Kojo Backah. We are taking a break. When we return, we've got more for you. Please stay. Moving on to some other stories, in its quest to ensure that at least 50% of Ghanaians have access to safe, clean and environmentally friendly liquefied petroleum gas by 2030, the National Petroleum Authority has launched the LPG Awareness and Sensitization Campaign in Accra. The authority says it is poised to eradicate energy poverty and make LPG usage a Ghanaian lifestyle. There's more in this report.
The nationwide LPG campaign is dubbed Our Gas. In his remarks, Chief Executive of the NPA, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, expressed worry about the cost of LPG, but assured his outfit is working in collaboration with the Energy Ministry to raise an argument in Parliament to get approval for some taxes on LPG to be removed.
We understand that perhaps the majority of the Ghanaian people are poor, and therefore the many people cannot afford to purchase cylinders, perhaps even to buy gas, and etc., etc. So we at NPA, in collaboration with our sector ministry, are trying very hard to make it easy for people to access LPG. We are hoping that as part of the CRM process, we will make an argument in Cabinet to allow Cabinet to approve for us to remove some of the taxes on LPG in order to bring down the cost of LPG considerably.
Secretary of the LPG Marketing Companies Association, Justice Mante, called for the reduction of LPG price to make the commodity competitive against the solid fuel.
Just last week, we saw a reduction in petrol prices. Gas prices didn't come down. And the question is, why aren't you asking, if they are all affected by dollar and Russia-Ukraine war, why is gas prices still staying there and they are not being reduced? So that's one clear example for you. But gas prices keeps going up and up, and the ordinary Ghanaian cannot afford it.
Second Lady of the Republic of Ghana and advocate for Clean Cooking Alliance, Samira Baumia, is optimistic the campaign will expedite actions to promote the use of clean energy to curb the devastating effects of other alternatives.
LPG as an alternate fuel, cooking fuel, is clean, safe and efficient. And I'm glad that the NPA through this campaign is promoting the use of LPG for cooking. This forms part of government's effort to increase the usage to 50% by 2030. And I know with all these efforts, we will achieve that and hopefully even exceed it.
Media personality Dolores Frimpong Manso is the ambassador for the Uwa Gas campaign.
Meanwhile, LPG Marketers Association welcomes the eradication of some taxes off LPG. According to its Vice President, Gabriel Kumi, the move by government is long overdue.
Later than never. I mean, we, the LPG Marketing Companies Association, have been calling for this for the past 5 years. But thank God, gradually, the authorities are beginning to see reason in our argument and are beginning to act. I think this is long overdue. At the moment, the LPG you buy, every kilo of LPG you buy, you pay 50%. The cost of it, 50% is made up of taxes. And we believe when these 50% taxes are removed, it will help push up the consumption of LPG very, very, very high. So we welcome this move, and we want the NPA to act on this as immediately as possible. Because at the moment, consumption of LPG is on the decline. Already we have declined by over 15% compared to the same period last year. And if the prices are to remain the same, our projection is that by next year we'll be declining into the region of about 25%, which is very, very, very dangerous for this country.
And is it only taxes that need to be removed before we see prices decline?
Well, we believe that is a very good step because the government has set an objective to increase consumption of LPG from the current 25% to 50% by the year 2030. But you cannot eat your cake and have it. You can't set such a laudable objective and at the same time you sit and watch prices goes up uncontrollably. You keep pushing up taxes on the product. You keep increasing the cost of the product through taxation. And we believe that taxes must be removed. Obviously, we are not saying as soon as the taxes are removed, every Ghanaian will start using LPG. But LPG is highly price sensitive. It's a product with an elastic demand. So when you're dealing with such a product, the only way you can grow consumption is to take measures to reduce the price so you can attract a lot more people into the consumption. At the moment, LPG consumption is on the decline, but charcoal consumption is on the baton. It's rising. I did hear one of the ministers, the Deputy Minister of Energy, says that charcoal is more expensive than LPG. That can never be true. That is.
And that's it for Business Live for tonight. I am Pious Kojo Backah. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Always a pleasure serving you. To enjoy the rest of our programs.